All right, so I just want to welcome you all to our July Parents Session. My name is Jessica Castro, and I am the co-coordinator for the Parents Association, which is under the Office of Institutional Advancement and within the Alumni Engagement component of our office. This month, we are focusing on our international student experience. And we have invited our colleagues from the Office of International Programs and Study Abroad to present on that experience for you all. So I would like to go ahead and pass that over to them if you all want to decide on who will go first. But we do have the Assistant Director of the Office of International Programs, Maryanne Luther. We have the International Enrollment Liaison, Elena Barrios, and then we have the Assistant Director for the Study Abroad Program, Ms. Judy Moore. So I don't know who would like to go first, but you all decide.
Elena, I think that's you.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, okay. Are you able to share your screen, Elena? Okay, perfect.
Yes. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Jessica, thanks for the invitation. I'm going to first start with introductions of our presenters, which you already did, but yes, I'm Elena. Here you can see Maryanne, and Judy will add her screen soon. Oh, there it is. We're in the office actually right now. And this presentation is going to be a brief description of what we do in the office and to show you what we do on the side of OIP, in my side of recruitment, and in the study abroad side of the house. It's going to be a really short presentation. We didn't want it to go into details because we know we don't have that much time. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us and let us know through chat, or if you want to set an appointment with us or whatever you need, we're here, okay? Perfect. Okay. So first, we're located on the second floor of the Union, the one with the food court, which is the fun part of the university. And we also have a movie theater in our building. So I'm going to explain what OIP does and what we don't do, just to make clear all that happens in the office. And if it's not your case and it's how, oh, it's my friend's daughter, etc., you know where to guide them, and you also know what happens in this office. So what we do, we advise F1 international students on immigration topics. When I say we, it's actually international advisors, not me. So our team, they help to advise F1 international students. They're basically the middlemen between students and government agencies. So they're kind of the liaisons between the students and the agencies, right? And they help and support students to take responsibility of their immigration status, which is really important. We know that's something new for our new incoming students. So it's important for them to know the rules and how to respect and take responsibility on their immigration status. Then we also provide cultural programs, which, by the way, this semester is going to be really extreme on that since we're going back in-person events. So we're touring out the house with all these cultural events in our office. And we also issue student immigration documents here. On my side of this office, what I do is international student recruitment. So I'm going to go a little bit on the admission process, just a quick overview. And you can always share the information that we do help international students to get admitted to the university, okay? Starting 2 years ago when I was hired, we started an international recruitment plan, which is kind of new in our office. We're still developing that program. And last year, due to COVID, we had to switch our recruitment fairs that were in person to virtual fairs. So now we're keeping that format, which I think it's good. We're going to more places. And our team is about 25 to 27 staff members from the university. So just an FYI. Okay, what OIP does not do. We do not provide immigration, legal, or tax advice outside F1 student topics. And this is really important because sometimes I know there's a lot of confidence here in the office, or students trust our international advisors, but we do not provide this type of advice. And it's not only to protect ourselves, but also to protect students of taking the best decision in every step that they need to make, right? And then we also do not advise non-international students. So in this case, if they're US citizens, they have other offices where they could go. And so we only advise F1 international students, okay? We do not offer services provided by other departments, such as admissions, tuition, billing, payments, testing, course add drop, and academic advising. And we can see how times like students have a lot of questions about their degree plans, if they're taking the right decision on their professional or career goals, etc. And they come here and they're like, hey, so I want to know more about, oh, you study marketing. Can you let me know like which classes should I take, etc. So we're not that person. We will always send them to the right department. In this case, if it's academic advising, we'll send them to their advisor. If they have a really specific question about their tuition, we'll send them to SBS. They have to take one admission exams, which I'm going to explain a little bit more in the next slide. We'll take them to the testing department for them to go to the correct person and department. Okay, so now I'm going to explain what the admission process looks like. And I would like to mention how right now, due to COVID, everything is 100% online. So there's no need for students to come to the office to see if they could get admitted. Everything is virtual at this point. Woo, something good had to happen after a pandemic, right? So the first thing that they need to do is create and submit an Applied Texas application through appliedtexas.org, which that's the page. And it's really simple. I promise it takes around 5 to 10 minutes to create the account. And it's basically like some really simple questions, just like address, where did you study your high school, emergency contacts, email, etc. And then they need to submit their high school transcripts. It depends at which point they're submitting these transcripts. If it's at the beginning and they're still studying high school, they need to submit the preliminary transcript. And then when they graduate, they need to submit the final high school transcript. So sometimes they are telling us like, oh, but I submitted one. Yes, but it's not the final. So just remember that at the end, when you graduate, we need the final one in order to update it in our system. That way we know that the student graduated from high school. The third step is take one admission exam. And in here I put one in caps because I promise that we explain this and we say like, it's only one admission exam. They have the TOEFL, Duolingo, EPAA, SAT and ACT. And sometimes they come here to the office and they say like, oh, I took 5 of them. Why do you put a lot of exams? And we're like, oh, we don't. You just needed one. But there's some cases where they take more than one. And that's because they either failed exam or they want to retest to see if they get a higher score in order for a scholarship or just for their personal goals. I don't know. So yes, but it's really important to mention that they only need one. And in this case, it's really important as well to always check what's new on the admission process. So right now I'm telling you everything is virtual. And if we have cases where the tia or the cousin, they say like, oh no, when I did my admission process, I had to go to the office. Time changed at this point and you can all do it virtual. So one exam in here, we have the Duolingo, which is the fastest exam. And it was, we brought it to the university when the pandemic started because it was the only one that was 100% virtual. So we were like, okay, either that or having no exam. So we were like, okay, we'll take the Duolingo, but it's only 2 hours. No, it's only 1 hour and you receive the test scores in 2 days. So it makes it the most efficient exam. It was made by the Duolingo app, which make it like also really attractive. And what I like about this exam is that it's really like you have different types, like for example, you have the reading section, you have the one that you need to type, the one that you have to listen to an audio, etc. And it's a really good exam. But each exam is really different. We have one in Spanish, that's the EPAA. And it depends on the profile of the student and the preference as well. I made here a special note that there is a $65 international application fee for international students. And this fee, it doesn't stop like the student to get admitted. They actually get admitted, but they just need to pay this fee before they get to their orientations. So I wanted to explain that admission process. And here I think that everything is clear. It's only 3 steps. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I will put my email on the chat. And I wanted to explain the admission process. And I know it was really quick, but that's because they need to be admitted in order to arrive to the OIP side of the, well, actually to the OIP office. So I will leave this to Maryanne. It was really nice meeting you, and let me know if you have any questions.
As she mentioned, my name is Marion. I'm the Assistant Director of the Office of International Programs. So let's see. Go to the next slide.
Maryanne, there's something going on with your audio.
It's like we can hear you sometimes, but when we can hear you, it's very garbled.
Like a robot.
It's very scratchy.
Let me and we'll see if that helps.
If you'd like, Maryanne, we can jump to my section and let you do some technical troubleshooting, and then we'll loop back around.
Okay, that works.
Thank you, Judy.
Of course. Elena, you're gonna have to scroll to, yep, that one. Thank you. All right. So my name is Judy Moore. I am the Assistant Director for the Study Abroad Office. Our office works with students who want to go outside of the US, and that includes international students, but it also includes a lot of course, US students. So this is not just for international students, this is for any UTEP student. You can go to the next slide, Elena. So just a real quick snapshot, because we get these kinds of questions a lot. What are the top destinations for students to go to? Well, we tend to have these 4 that sort of shuffle around in order from year to year, but the top 4 countries for UTEP students tend to be Spain, the United Kingdom, and Italy. So that is where we have a lot of students going. That said, we do have programs in over 50 countries around the world. So there is a wide variety of options to choose from. Top colleges, liberal arts, the College of Business Administration, and the College of Engineering are the top 3 colleges as far as the students going from those colleges abroad. Really put forth an effort to highlight these kinds of opportunities for their students and tie these experiences to their career objectives. And I think that's part of the reason that these students within these units have really made study abroad a priority. And then under normal times, we send about 400 UTEP students abroad every year. Right now, of course, in the last year, we have had much smaller numbers. We've only had virtual programs, so very, very small, but we're starting things back up again. So hopefully we'll get back up to that. When students ask us why study abroad, or when parents want to know, why should my student study abroad? There's a lot of reasons. One of the myths that we see is students saying, well, I don't have time to do that. I need to graduate. The goal of this is you're earning credit towards the college degree while studying in another country. For me personally, when I was a student, I changed my major and picked up a minor at one point. And in order to graduate on time, I needed to take summer classes. And so for one of my summer classes, I studied abroad. And so studying abroad actually helped me stay on track to graduate on time. So this is not something that should delay graduation. If students plan accordingly, this is something that should help them continue to move forward towards graduation. There are other benefits. Students learn a lot about themselves, some of that independence and really understanding what it's like to live outside of their comfort zone, learning their strengths in those environments, maybe learning a new language. But perhaps one of the top reasons is really enhancing resumes. Studies have shown that students who study abroad increase their job offers, increase their earning potential. They stand out from their peers because not that many US college graduates have this kind of experience under their belt when they graduate. And so when students do this, it shows that they went above and beyond what was asked of them. They took that extra initiative and step with their education and really have made themselves stand out when it comes to job applications or grad school applications. So really great benefits to the why beyond just it's fun and we want to see the world. All right. In finding the right program for students, a lot of times it comes down to courses and costs, location, other activities that they're doing. Depending on what a student is looking for will help us guide them towards the type of programs that they might be interested in. Courses are often a number one fit. You know, moving towards graduation, engineering students are probably looking for programs that offer the STEM courses that they need in the sciences and the engineering and math classes. Students who are in the fine arts are maybe taking art history or a painting or photography class overseas. So things that fit their academic and then their professional goals as well. If you are a student who wants to go into theater and theater is your major, you're probably going to be drawn to London as one of the options because of its rich history of having theater there. Cost, of course, is a factor, and I will talk a little bit more about that because we all need to know what we're getting for this money. It is an investment. It is something that's going to help them graduate. It is something that's going to help them in their long-term career goals, but it does take an investment, and so it's an important piece to consider that as well. Like I said, we have programs in over 50 countries. We have over 1,000 programs. So even within some of these countries, there's multiple cities to choose from or multiple universities within a city. And so it's important for students to find that right fit. There are different housing options. Some programs, if students are only gone for a week or two, maybe they're staying in hotels. Sometimes there are apartments on campus or off campus. Sometimes there are host family options. So you're staying with a local family that has been vetted and hosted students before. So there's different opportunities available and different activities and site visits and things going on that are built into the program. So the College of Business, for example, might visit a company while they're overseas. The College of Engineering might go out to a site and look at how water purification is happening in that city. So there's a lot of different resources and things happening as a part of the program outside of the classroom as well. Okay, Elena. We have short-term and long-term programs. I'm not going to get into too much detail here. We do cover all of this information in information sessions that we have for students throughout the year. You're more than welcome to attend them as well. They are open. We do still offer some of them virtually, and we will be doing some in person. And we go into much more detail, but in short, we have short-term programs and long-term programs. The short-term programs last less than a semester. That's where a lot of students are going for 1 to 4 weeks most of the time, whereas a long-term program would be a semester or a full school year. And of course, on the shorter-term programs, you're earning fewer credits, whereas on a long-term program, you're earning more credits. And the structure is different, but they offer a variety of subjects and languages to choose from. With the cost that's listed here, these are estimates, and I really want to make sure that everyone knows these are the all-inclusive estimates. So your tuition, your fees, your housing, your meals, your airfare, getting a passport, local transportation, the books and supplies you need for classes. And these costs are before financial aid and scholarships. So I know a lot of times there's like a sticker shock to some of these programs of, what do you mean I'm going to be in Italy for a month and it's going to cost me $8,000? And it's like, well, but you're getting 6 credits as a part of that, and your housing for a month, and that includes your airfare and some of your spending money, and how much are you going to spend on meals? It's an estimate. And so some students will spend more or less. That's where it's really important when students are looking at a particular program to talk to us about their financial aid, to talk to us about their scholarships, so that we can advise them on how to figure out what that real cost is going to be for them. I see this question about the College of Business. I see that in the chat. I will get to that. So thank you for asking. I just wanted to let you know that I saw it. Elena, if you could go through. So when we tell students to go abroad, there's a lot of different things to consider. With first-year students, most of the time, the earliest they can go is the summer after their freshman year, because we want to make sure that they have completed 12 hours. It doesn't have to be at UTEP necessarily, but it does have to be college level credit and not dual credit or AP credit or things like that. We want to make sure that that students have handled the university and the college learning environment and level of academic performance before sending them to another place to learn yet another system. For sophomores, they're looking maybe a little bit more of those core electives, getting into their major and minor. And this is a really important note with the College of Business. The College of Business at UTEP does have some additional requirements for business students who want to study abroad, that you have a certain GPA, that you have completed your business foundations courses before you go overseas. So some colleges or departments may have degree specific requirements as well. And so it's really important for all students to talk to their academic advisors about, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Maybe I'm not doing it yet. Maybe I'm doing it next year or even the year after, but this is something that I'm interested in. For juniors, you're getting more into those upper division classes in the field of study. And for seniors, we try to advise students to not wait until their senior year because it is very difficult to find a program during their senior year. And you can't, as a student, study abroad during your last term at UTEP because that will delay your graduation. So waiting until the last minute makes studying abroad very difficult. Additionally, we want students to consider non-academic commitments. So our students that are in the ROTC, students who are planning on doing internships or co-ops, or our student athletes, or like I tell them sometimes, if you're going to be in your sister's wedding, that's probably not the time that you should be traveling to the other side of the world. So considering not just how it fits into their academics, but also how it fits into their personal life as well, or their extracurriculars. Elena, can you go to, thank you. I mentioned financial aid. Real quick overview, a lot of times students can use financial aid, the same that they use to attend college. Some of the common ones that we see are the Terry Scholarship, Pell Grant, student loans, university scholarships, and sometimes military benefits as well. If a program is not for academic credit, so we do sometimes see students say, oh, I want to do an international internship, and they go through our office for that. If they want to just do it for the experience, that's great. They don't have to pay for the tuition, but that also means they wouldn't get their financial aid. And we walk them through all of these considerations when they come in. Here's some pros, here's some cons, talk to your academic advisor, talk to this person in financial aid to help them navigate what's going to be the best fit for what they're looking for what they want to get out of this experience. Elena, can you go? Thank you. We also have scholarships that students apply for because we know that even if you're using financial aid, if nothing else, you're going to have a plane ticket to pay for that you're not normally budgeting for. So we do have scholarships that are specifically for students who study abroad. There are national scholarships and institutional scholarships. So the national scholarships, these are just some of the ones that are out there. In particular, we direct students and advise students a lot under these. We do workshops for study abroad scholarships. We have workshops specifically for the Benjamin Gilman International Scholarship. We have advisors on campus at our office, but also outside of our office to help students revise essays and applications and give feedback and drafts so that they have the most competitive scholarship application that they can have. We regularly, as an institution, have UTEP students who are selected for these national awards. And when students are selected for a national award, they are standing out and getting scholarships that are several thousands of dollars. The Gilman Scholarship, for example, I've seen it anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. And that's a really impactful dollar amount for students who are dependents of active duty military members. There are some scholarships specifically for them as well. And so we help students apply for these so that they get them, because it's not a matter of just signing up. There are application processes to them, but we are able to help our students be very competitive on the national scale for those. For the institutional scholarships, some of the departments and colleges and honors program have scholarships for study abroad. Our office has a scholarship for students that we give to every possible student that we can award this to. And that does include international students who may not be eligible for some of the national awards or federal financial aid. This scholarship is something that, it's maybe $500 for a summer program or $750 or $1,000 for a semester program. And there's no separate application process for it. It's almost like a grant. If you've turned in your paperwork, if you've done what we needed you to do, and met the deadlines you needed to meet, we will put this money in your student account so that you can go abroad. So this is, at UTEP, right, in general, we have a study abroad office. Sometimes you'll hear us called the International Office or Office of International Programs. You can contact us with more questions. I will put our general email address in the chat so that you have that contact information as well. It's myself, and we have 2 professional study abroad advisors on our staff, in addition to some student workers who help answer questions and guide their peers through the application process. When looking at what kinds of international opportunities are available in your major, and so now I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about this question about business. There are a lot of programs that offer business classes. So I'm not sure where on the study abroad website you looked, but if you go to our Minors Abroad portal, which I will put that in the chat right now. So that link there, when you search for programs on that site, it is our database. And that's where, like I said, we have over 1,000 programs to choose from. And students can make an account in that portal if they want to start an application or save a program to their profile to go back and apply for later. And so it's really easy to search, and you can just type in business, or maybe you're typing in accounting, or you're looking at a particular region of the world. There's a lot of different opportunities there. Now, sometimes you'll find a program and an application isn't available. That could just be that applications haven't opened yet. Right now, we don't have applications open for summer 2022. We have applications open for winter and spring of 2022. Additionally, sometimes we have programs led by our faculty, and the faculty, especially this year, are still trying to decide if they're going to offer those programs this year, well, in 2022 or not. And so those open up as we get that information from the academic department. So we work really closely with those faculty. And that's why it's really important for the students to work closely with their academic advisors as well, because sometimes they bridge the gap between our office and the academic office. But we're trying to all work together to help these students have an experience that is both enjoyable and rewarding and academically fruitful as well. In using financial aid, we have a contact in the financial aid office that we direct students to with questions about how their specific aid package can be used for study abroad. The eligibility requirements vary by program, but in general, students need to have a 2.5 or over a 3.0. That tends to be where the GPA requirement lies. Some of the programs are going to be specifically for civil engineering students. Some programs are going to be specifically for juniors and seniors. Some programs are open to anyone who's interested. So it depends on the individual program, but the application is pretty straightforward. And then when students should apply should be about a semester or more before they want to go. So like I said, right now we do have students who have started applications to go abroad in spring 2022, and we'll get the summer ones open later this year. Okay, so some important dates. These are our pretty standard application deadlines, just to give you all an idea as to what we're looking at. So for those students who are applying for spring, they have until the end of September to turn in their initial application materials. We do not require students to have a passport at the time of applying for their program. However, they're going to need one before they leave. And right now, passports are taking a little longer to do. So you'll see a rough estimate is we want you to think about applying for that 5 months before they go. One of the nice things is our office in the Union Building East, international programs, recruitment, study abroad. We also have a passport acceptance facility in our office where you, students, faculty, staff, anyone from the community who needs to apply for a US passport can do so in our office on campus. So you don't have to go to the post office. You don't have to deal with any of that. You can do that right here, which is really convenient for our students when it comes to studying abroad. We have students attend a pre-departure orientation before they go. So we answer their questions about what to pack and how to contact us in case of an emergency, or health and safety information and information about the insurance that they get through the university. And we have fairs and events and things that happen throughout the year to help students find more information about the info sessions, the programs that we have, like I mentioned, the scholarship workshops, and we really try to promote those on our social media and throughout our different channels at UTEP. So I hope, thank you, Elena, for putting my email address in there while I was talking. But if anyone has any questions about study abroad, please don't hesitate to ask.
Judy, I have a couple of questions. I have two. So do you see trends in regard to where are like popular spots to travel? I know you mentioned Spain, South Korea, which is interesting. So do you see trends across the country or the world maybe?
Yeah, so Spain is often the #1 spot for all of the US when it comes to college students. That is, it holds on tight to being a top destination for US college students when it comes to study abroad. And I think that could be for a lot of reasons. I know in many parts of the US, we have a lot of heritage Spanish speakers who go to Spain to get a different type of Spanish exposure and understanding a lot of times how that culture has influenced the Mexican and Latin American culture that we may see on a day-to-day basis in different parts of the US. So Spain is always a top one. And Spanish is a very good language to know. The United Kingdom, another top one. You know, everyone wants to go to London and listen to accents and all those kinds of things. If you're a literature major, if you're an English speaker, it feels very comfortable. It feels like, well, maybe it's not that different. So those are always top ones. I think at UTEP in particular, Italy and South Korea nationally, I think are doing very well when it comes to US students who want to study abroad. UTEP has a very strong faculty-led program presence in Italy. So they take a lot of students through the art department and through the history department to Italy every summer. And so that really definitely impacts some of our numbers. We are seeing nationally, but also at UTEP, South Korea has really been on the rise over the last few years. And I think part of that is the expansion of the South Korean culture through K-pop and Korean dramas becoming more and more visible and more mainstream. And so people are starting to think like, maybe I should go to Korea. Additionally, in the last year, quite frankly, Korea has handled the coronavirus fairly well. And so it's one of the safer places to go right now with regards to health considerations. And I think that's influencing some people as well. And then one of the things that we tell students, there's a lot of programs in Korea where the courses are taught in English, even though that is not the main language. So students don't have to have ever taken Korean or consider that something that they have to worry about in order to go take their classes in calculus, in physics, in art, in literature. And so it really opens up some doors for them if they don't feel comfortable in the language. So yeah, these trends are very common across the US, but that's sort of, I think, why at UTEP we're seeing some of those things come forward.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And then I wanted to check in, how would you all as students say that the situation in early 2020 arises again and coronavirus yeah, I know. Right, but I mean, I'm sure you guys are having like those talks.
No, these are good questions. So we have students who are planning on going this fall. We were able to get some students approved to go this fall to France and Spain and South Korea. And the students are asking the same questions. They're saying, okay, but what happens if I get over there and in October, things get crazy again and I have to come back home? So now that the pandemic is a known entity, things are a little different than they were in 2020. So in 2020, when things hit, the university brought everyone home and paid to bring everyone home because it was an unknown entity and we were able to do some insurance related things to get that done. Right now, students are with the understanding that if you get brought home, there's a financial risk that you're taking by going on these programs, in addition to, your personal health and safety risk. So the students that are going this year are really excited about these opportunities, but they're also doing it with a very clear head of the pros and cons. What I anticipate if students do have to come back, which again, obviously throw salt over your shoulder, cross your fingers, all of those things that we don't have to deal with that. But in the past, what happened was students were able to continue taking their classes from their study abroad program, but they did it virtually, much like all students did around the world in 2020 when things switched partway through the semester. So students were able to continue their programs, but do it a little differently. In fact, we do have a student this year who has opted for that choice, kind of. She has chosen, there's a program that's available that has a couple of classes that she needs. She'll take a couple of online virtual study abroad courses, and then we'll take her other 2 classes at UTEP during the normal term. So one of the nice things that we've seen, Elena talked about a lot of things going online. One of the benefits that we've seen due to COVID is an offering of virtual experiences. The College of Engineering had a virtual exchange with a school in Peru this summer. While it's not the same as going in person, I do think that that's a great opportunity for those who maybe are a little concerned right now about going, both financially or health and safety wise. And I also think down the road, I hope some of those programs stay around, because there's a variety of reasons why a student might decide that this doesn't fit their needs, but maybe an online or virtual option would. And so as much as I'm excited about getting people back out there and going out, and UTEP, of course, is looking and monitoring all of these things very closely and staying in contact with students and the system office, and monitoring the Department of State and the CDC and the entry requirements and visa requirements. My hope is that these students go and have a wonderful time and don't have to come back. But we have seen how that worked in the past. We anticipate how that could work in the future. And we do now have some programs that wouldn't require travel. So there's some new things coming in the pipeline for sure.
Yeah, that's super neat to have that interactive experience offered as well. Very cool. Thank you. Maryanne, were you able to join us now?
Yes. Can you hear me clearly? Is it okay?
Yes, you sound perfect.
All I did was got out and come back in. I didn't try anything else. So I'm glad this worked. All right, so we'll try round 2. So as Elena was talking about with our international students, right? There's a lot of different types of international students at UTEP. We have the ones that we serve, which are the ones on the F1 visa. There's also DACA. There's students that are maybe here as a dependent of their parents' work visa, all of those. So we only service those F1 international students. So the guidance that they have only applies to them if they're here on that visa. And the interesting thing about the F1 visa is that their immigration status is tied directly to their status as a student, right? So they're not only coming to college, they're coming to college as a part of their immigration status and really as the full thing. So not only do we encourage them to go to class and get good grades and everything to get their degree, but it's like, if you want to stay in the US, you kind of have to do that. So it can put a little bit more pressure on them, but I think in some ways you just use it to motivate yourself. You need to do well in your classes. That means you need to go to your classes, you need to do your assignments, talk to your advisors when you have those questions. And that's the way that you're going to keep your immigration status active. So as a way of doing that, we do have international student orientation at the beginning of the year for all incoming students. And we just go over, there are kind of a lot of rules for international students, but most of them are pretty self-explanatory. The first and most important one is enrolling full-time, right? Most students, with the exception of, we have border commuter students who live in Mexico and cross the border to attend classes. And among border commuter students, there's part-time and full-time. So part-time students, they have a little bit more flexibility here, but any of our full-time border commuters or any students who are living in the US, they do have to enroll full-time. There are very few exceptions for that full-time enrollment. Let's say I'm having a medical condition or an illness, and it's just not possible for me to be enrolled full-time in a given semester. We can make exceptions for the student. We work with the Department of Homeland Security's regulations so that we can do that. There's also for students in their last semester, they don't have to enroll full-time because maybe you only need a class or 2 left, and that's fine. For normal times, students are limited to the number of online classes that they can take. So in general, undergraduate students have to be enrolled in 12 credits per semester, graduate students in 9 credits per semester, and only 1 3-credit class can be online as part of that schedule. The government essentially is saying, if you're here on a student visa, you need to be taking classes in person. Otherwise, you don't need to be here to be doing that. And then they do have to, of course, take those classes in the United States because they're going to be in person. The good thing, so I mean, we've all gone through, a heck of a year and a half. And for our international students, it was especially rocky, especially right at the beginning. There were all sorts of things going on with the Department of Homeland Security. They were issuing guidance and then revoking that guidance and issuing new guidance, but we didn't know for how long. And in the end, it actually came out really good for our international students. So because of COVID-19, there are significant exceptions, I guess you would say, for our international students, depending on their status. And we have kind of different students. So if you're a new or initial student, that means that you're brand new, you're coming to the US for the first time. Transfer students for immigration purposes. It's not only like if you're transferring maybe from EPCC or another US school to UTEP, but transfer students are also students who you went to a US high school and now you're coming to UTEP, or you finished your degree, undergraduate degree somewhere else, and now you're starting a graduate degree at another US school. Our change of level students, those are who completed an undergraduate degree and now are starting a graduate degree at UTEP. And then we have our continuing or active students. And those are students who are just in the same program from one semester to the next. And the guidance for each of these groups is a little bit different. So for our new or initial students, initially what the government wanted was basically saying that if you can't take all of your classes in person, then you can't be here. But what they changed it to was that you just can't take your first semester fully online. So this was especially an issue of fall of last year and spring of earlier this year. What we had to make sure was that new students who were incoming had at least one in-person or hybrid class. So basically they had to have some in-person component to their semester. If they wanted to do it fully online, they could do that outside the US as long as they were comfortable doing that and as long as the program allowed it. So we did have quite a few students from Mexico, especially undergraduate students primarily, that they completed a full year of their degree online while staying outside the US. So a lot of them are just stepping on campus for the first time this month, and going to campus and going to their classes finally in person, seeing us and seeing our office in person as well. So this was, for these students, it was a good chance for them. We did have a lot of students that were able to come and get that one in-person class. It just depended a lot on the program and what they offered. And then this guidance is also in here for the next academic year as well. So even though things are kind of maybe slowing down and hopefully getting back to normal, we're able to have these exceptions for the next academic year as well. And then we can go to the next slide. Thanks. And then those students, like I said, are new or initial ones. Those are the ones brand new coming from abroad. For all of those other students I mentioned, things are pretty much the same. So whether you're continuing in the same program, whether you're transferring from another school to UTEP, or whether you're completing a degree at UTEP and starting another one, these students have the most amount of flexibility. They can enroll from within the US or abroad. They can take any amount of online classes. So especially in the last year, a lot of them, they were enrolled fully online because they were able to do so. And their CVIS record stays active as long as they're enrolling full time. So CVIS is the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. It's basically an online database of all of the F1 international students in the country. And our office maintains that. As Elena mentioned, we are, the kind of the middleman, the liaison between the government and the students. So we do have reporting requirements. We're not here to get them in trouble. We're literally here, like when they move, they need to tell us that they moved so we can tell the government and update their address there. We need to update every semester to confirm that, yes, the student is enrolled, they're doing what they need to do, and making sure that they're not going to be encountering issues with the government through immigration, because it can get pretty scary and we don't want that to happen. So that's kind of our job in our office, is to make sure, not that we're necessarily doing everything for the students, but we're informing the students of the things that they need to do. And when they have questions that they need to come to us so we can talk through it and see what's going on. So yes, as mentioned, we got pretty lucky with the guidance this time around because the government did extend it for a full year. So we know for the next academic year what things are going to be looking like. And it is really nice. I mean, most of the students now are going to be taking at least some in-person or hybrid classes. Most of the programs aren't offering as many online classes as before, but they still do that, have that flexibility if they need it. And because of COVID, we did set up a pretty extensive FAQ page. And so if you're curious about things that students are asking us or just have questions about our office and COVID and different government regulations, you can visit the website there. We also have a link on that website to a list of all of the correspondence that we've sent to our students since March last year. And I think we're getting close to like the 100 entries page for that. Every time I go to update the website, it takes longer and longer for it to actually load through. But we think that's pretty helpful because a lot of times like the guidance changes, you know, every time the border restrictions are extended. Currently the US, Mexico and US, Canada land borders are restricted except for essential travel through August 21st. That's been in place since March of last year. Luckily, our F1 students are exempt from those restrictions. So if they're coming to the US for academic purposes, they are able to cross through those land borders. We've occasionally had students report an issue or here and there, usually because of an individual CBP officer, you know, it's just, there's like a situation going on. But most of the time when students have an issue entering at one bridge, they go to another bridge, you know, immediately after, and they're able to get in there. So that's been fortunate for our students, but they've had a lot going on, and I don't envy them at all. I know like international students, they deal with a lot just with, you know, getting admitted, having these extra requirements, getting all of their visas in time, and getting, you know, dealing with deadlines and entering the US and all this stuff. And COVID has not been easy, especially a lot of them, you know, haven't seen their family. Some decided to go home right when everything started, and then some decided to stay. And it was really great this spring. We had a lot of them coming in to get their documents signed so that they could go home. And they were just, the looks on their faces, they were so excited to finally see their family after over a year. So it was very nice to have that experience and like see them, you know, being able to do that again. If you do have any questions for us, we're easily reached at oip@utep.edu. That is our email address. And I also want to mention we have two of our the newest OIP advisors in the session right now. We have Miss Jennifer Dominguez and Miss Mi Lee. And they're kind of here just to see how these things go. And they know all this. They didn't learn anything from here, but just to see how these presentations go. And eventually they'll be taking over and they can start doing these on their own as well. So we want to thank them for being here and learning a little bit. And if we have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And there was a question asking, sorry, let me scoot this up. Will there be anyone in the office, or will everything still be through email in August?
So we are, yeah, as of June, we are all back in the office. So at least all of the OIP advisors full-time were there Monday through Friday. Normal business hours are 8 to 5. From now until the semester starts, our business hours are going to be 9:30 to 5. But once classes begin, we'll be back to that normal 8 to 5 schedule. So we are in the office. We still, a lot of times if students have questions, we still do ask them to email us. The reason being, sometimes it's a quick question that turns into a longer conversation. And we don't have student staff in the office right now. So it's the advisors at the front desk answering the phone and everything. And a lot of times when we're answering questions for students, it's not just you ask a question, I give you an answer. It's you ask a question, I have to pull up your record in our system. I have to look through the government database. I have to do all this other stuff. So it's not always a simple thing. So we're open for phone calls though, but emails and phone calls are also, you know, everything's good. And we're in the office.
Great, thank you. All right. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. That way, if anyone has a question, they can just raise their hand. Thank you all so much for your presentation. That was very informational. And we appreciate your time. But if nobody has any questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up. And if you want to get in contact with the office, the ladies have put in their email in the chat, or you can reach out to my office or to me. My email is jlcastro@utep.edu. But thank you all so much for your time, and thank you for your participation. And yeah, everyone have a good night. Also, we will be having a recording of this on our webpage, so look for that if you need it. But thank you all so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
All right, good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.